Hey, this is Greg. I thought this time we'd get into some audio production stuff. There are a lot of different audio programs that you can use out there to either record live audio or to do composition work. Um, some of the top programs are Cubase and Apple Logic Pro, ProTools. We've had projects come into the studio in Samplitude. I did my first song back, about 1996 actually, in a program called Cakewalk Sonar. The software that you use for audio production doesn't make as huge of an amount of difference to your sound or your final product output as you might think. It does affect a lot of your creative possibilities. It does affect your workflow. It does affect your editing options and things like that. So these days, when I'm composing, I'm working mostly in Pro Tools, not because it's the only thing that you can possibly use, but because it's a program that I've become comfortable with. So that's what I'm going to show you. If you have special requests, a program you'd like to look at, we may be able to do that for you. I've seen most of them, worked with most of them in the studio in some capacity or another. But let's take a look at Pro Tools. And one of the questions that I get a lot from people just starting with Pro Tools is, how do you set up a session to begin with? And so I thought we'd just take a look at that. So let's switch over here a second. And so when I load Pro Tools, this is the first screen that I get. And I can create a session from some kind of default template. You can make your own templates. As you can see, I have done here, create a blank session, open a recent session if you've been working on some projects, or just open a session from some attached drive on your system. I'm going to click create a blank session, and I could hit the OK button here, but that might be a little bit dangerous. I'm going to click on this set of double arrows here, and that opens up a whole set of options that you might not see if you're not aware that that little button is there. And these are really important settings overall for the session that you're about to launch. Audio file type, this is what type of audio file is Pro Tools going to read and write. Probably the best setting is this BWF or WAV. The WAV file is simply the most common readable, writable file. Your sessions crash if your audio is written in WAV. You'll be able to open them anywhere. If they're working on PC, Mac, it doesn't matter. Around the world, files written to a WAV file type are readable. The next setting is bit depth. And bit depth is a setting that corresponds to the number of levels or gradations of loudness from the softest to the loudest that the software is going to be able to interpret. So if you have a microphone hooked up to your system and you're just recording a single microphone, the computer has to assign a value to every little variation in loudness that's coming into the computer. And if you set it to 16 bits, the files will take up less space on your hard drive, but will have fewer gradations to be able to express dynamic range between the softest and the loudest part of your music. I usually work in 24-bit. Sample rate is another setting that's really, really important. You can see here it's grayed out. That has to do with the fact that I'm using screen capture software that's also accessing my audio here at this point. But you'll see a number value on a drop-down list expressed in kilohertz. So this is capturing at 48 kilohertz. What's happening here is an audio signal comes into the computer. The computer is 48,000 times per second kind of taking a picture or a snapshot of the frequency of that audio wave. And so again, this has to do with how accurately is the audio interface processing the audio that's coming in and out of the system. A higher sample rate is going to take up more space on your hard drive. If you're just doing music and you don't intend for it to go to Blu-ray DVD or anything like that, 48K is more than adequate. 44K is CD quality, so I prefer to work a little bit above CD quality and then convert files down at a later point in the audio production process. Let's hit OK, and first thing Pro Tools will ask us to do is to name the session. So we'll name this Pro Tools setup vid, and Pro Tools will open here, and we're looking now just at a blank session. So there's nothing in here. So the first thing we need to do is to add some new tracks. And if I'm working primarily with software instruments, let's say we'll add 8 new instrument tracks. Let's add 3 new stereo aux input tracks, and that should be good for now. I won't go into the difference between those two right now, but look, we have a bunch of instrument tracks that we've added to our session. Yeah, and okay, I'm just going to explain a little bit about what we're looking at here. Down the left hand side we'll see our track headers. This will tell us what we have, what instrument is on this particular slot. So maybe we have a piano here, and then we have a kick drum, and then maybe we have a synthesizer, and then maybe we have a dubstep bass, and then who knows. Okay. When we record our different instruments, all of the programming for those instruments is going to be visible here. And then there's buttons to arm the recording, solo, mute, if I don't want to hear a particular instrument that's been programmed. Up here, we have different settings that help us navigate our session. Global tempo is here. So if I insert tempo changes into the song, it'll be reflected on this little green bar. Here is the time ruler that's reflecting in bars and beats. But if I want to view where the song is at in minutes and seconds, I can do that easily enough as well. Up here at the top are some different editing modes. Normally I'm going to be in grid mode if I'm working on composing. Here is the time counter. Again, I can click this little down arrow, and I can select whether I'm viewing this in bars and beats or minutes and seconds. If I click show sub counter here, I can actually have 2 time counters displaying at once. So sometimes I'll do that, and bars and beats makes it really easy for me to compose, say, just a simple 8-bar beat, and work in a loop, and then the sub counter later on in the arranging process, if I want to know how long the song is, I can look there and it will be reflected. What else can I say? That's the basics. There are other windows, mixer window in Pro Tools, and windows for MIDI programming. That's stuff we can get into in a different video. I'm going to keep these short, so there it is. That's how you start up a Pro Tools session.